California, number 18, Hot Sauce Giovanni Scelzi.
First ever early. It was supposed to be an early Saturday morning show. Scelzi Says, but we're a little bit later. We had a little tech glitch, and Gio was late again.
I know. I got Starbucks.
You had a big race last night. I understand.
Yeah, waking up at 7:45 whenever I set my alarm. My dog didn't even want to wake up, so that should tell you something.
Well,
she's ready.
This is fun. A couple of our racing heroes are in here with us, and
no doubt.
We had to take advantage of it with the NASCAR being in town and with the Outlaws. We have Dale and Dave Blaney. Thanks for getting this lined up. How do you know these guys?
Oh, thank you guys. First off, I've been friends with Dave, I feel like, since me and Bernie stayed at your shop in Charlotte a couple years ago, and met IROC and met the whole crew. I've known Dale for a little bit longer, you and my dad being idiots together and hanging out. So, yeah, two guys I look up to for sure.
I was sitting next to Dale for about 2 hours last night and didn't even know it.
No way.
I didn't. I wasn't
like, I got some idiot on the podcast. I don't know. Gio winded up. I don't know who it is. And you're like, really?
Oh, our buddy Blake Anderson was supposed to be telling him that I'm not like a total piece of shit before he came in here today. So, anyways, welcome to Iowa, guys. How we doing?
Appreciate
it.
Good.
Are you so? Give us because there are some more. We're trying to get new race fans into the sport. What are you guys doing right now? Catch everybody up on that. Go ahead, Dale. You start. You're the talkative one, right? That's what I've been told.
I still race a little bit.
Yep, I knew that.
For whatever reason. Work at a fab shop a little bit. I've been a substitute school teacher a little bit, coach basketball. I do a little bit of everything. I make no money, but I do a lot of shit. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a great life.
Working at
goals.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? What are you up to now?
Same thing. Not much. Race a little bit. We have a little trailer business, restroom trailers mainly, and we built one
and
for him.
Trailers,
yeah, we turned it into a t-shirt trailer for you. Yeah,
took the shitters out of it, put cabinets in it.
So I just got to get this out of the way. I wanted to give Dale shit about the West Virginia basketball thing. True Blue, Iowa State Cyclone right here. That's cool though. I didn't know you were a basketball player. I don't think
it was a long time ago. Yeah. I was okay
70s?
at one point.
Yeah.
No, not the 70s.
From a guy wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
In a pocket.
Yeah.
I knew we shouldn't have came in the door.
Yeah.
Well, way back then, anyone that was like that tall, they just put on the team. That's all they had. So they couldn't put anybody else
on. Back in the mid-'80s, I was a center. You know what I mean? And now I'm,
How tall are you?
6'4". Used to be 6'4". I'm probably shrunk a little bit by now, but at some point I'm going to get to 6'2".
I didn't know that you were a basketball player. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Great. West Virginia University was awesome. 4 years playing Division I. It was pretty special. It was cool. I wouldn't trade those. Those are probably 4 of the best years of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fun.
So
go ahead, Gio.
That's interesting. Like I have that on here too to talk about, but you got drafted in 1986 to the Lakers.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've heard the stories from other people, but like obviously you're not signing multi-million-dollar contracts back then like you are now. Like you hear someone today, they're in the NBA, they're golden, like they're not going to do anything else. Like to go sprint car race instead of basketball, what was the decision there?
I don't know. It was like I dreamed of being a race car driver. Like basketball was basketball for me. I love playing it, love playing in college. But at some point, I wanted to be around race cars. There was guys like, Dave and guys that we raced go-karts with when we were 14, 15 that were being successful racing sprint cars. Not as successful as him, but they were racing it. And it's like, man, I was dying to do it.
Yeah.
At that point in my life, I was ready to go racing, or I was ready to be around it more. I played enough basketball, but to make a dumb decision like leaving the Lakers when they were the best team in the world probably wasn't the best decision I've ever made.
So like obviously I'm not into sports much. I know enough about it, but going from college to the NBA, like were you going to start? Like it was like a process where you practice and then there
was Magic and Kareem and Worthy and
Dale.
Scott and Cooper and Randall and
Come on. Give yourself a little more credit.
I'm going to be the 12th guy, and there was only 12 guys on a team then, and there was only 24 teams in a league. Like
so
now,
12 guys in the whole the whole Lakers organization. Was it now like 50 or how many are in an NBA
well,
team?
there's like they have the G League now, and there's like 15 or 16 actually on the team playing. So there's a lot more guys now, and 6 more teams
Right.
now than what I was there.
You could
So
probably get back on a team a bit now if you went back.
'cause
Is there an NBA Champions Tour?
no.
like PGA?
The good thing this guy drives a race car.
Yeah.
He can't get
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
job.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank God we didn't capture the Mount Rushmore
Yeah. No
conversation.
shit. I mean, yeah.
yeah. But it was neat to play with those guys. Like the first time I jumped in a sprint car, like I'd known Sammy and Steve and Wolfgang. I'd known them through Dave. And but to be actually on the track and getting heat in the motor next to the 11, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with you see Magic and Kareem and those guys play on TV, and you don't even think they're real. And all of a sudden, then you're next to them. You catch a pass from one, throw it to the other, and it's just like, this is fucked up.
Do you remember your starting contract, like what you got paid your first year, or what you would have been paid?
Well, the rookie minimum was $75,000.
Right.
That's what I would have been paid.
Which I mean, that for 1986, that's a shitload of money, really.
I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Magic was making $1 million a year.
Right.
He'd signed a huge 25-year, $25 million contract, and everybody thought, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy."
Yeah.
And then about 10 years later, he goes, "Well, that probably was dumb."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, it's evolution's changed a
Definitely.
lot.
So your guys' relationship, like I relate you guys to me and my brother. We're 4.5 years apart, but flip-flopped. Like you're younger, you're a little more outgoing. Dave's more reserved, which is the opposite of us. Dominic could talk to that computer and be friends with it, kind of like you can, I feel like, and like my dad too. But like, were you guys best friends growing up? Like you guys were inseparable, or you guys were doing your own thing? Or were you guys beating up on each other?
It wasn't beating up on each other.
We've never had an actual fight.
No.
You know, never like throwing punches.
Yep.
Never an actual fight.
Yeah. I think there's a time like in a brotherly relationship, like I was an asshole when I was younger. Like just like we would.
He saw that.
Yeah. Dominic was so much bigger than me, and I always want to hang out.
Spasm in your arm or something?
Yeah. I always want to hang out with his friends because we were 4 or 5 years older, and I was always smaller. So we'd race tricycles, and I'd get beat, and I'd go cry. And I was like, man, looking back, I'm like,
That's right.
I wouldn't want to hang out with my brother because he's such an asshole. And there was one moment I remember vividly, and I want to ask you guys about this too. Was Dominic was in online school, and I think I was in like 6th grade. And we're at the race shop, and he's behind on the schoolwork trying to race. And I'm just giving him shit, just egging him on, like not letting him go. And I don't even know why. So I'm like, you don't get schoolwork done. You suck at racing, blah, blah. And he kind of backs me up to a wall right by the sink in the race shop and just fucking wham. Punches right by my head, completely through the drywall. Thank God he didn't hit a stud. And then I was like, fuck, like that was not smart. Like, and then literally from then on, it was like, you have a built-in best friend. Like, why would you not like this guy? And after that, it's been like, we could argue or whatever, and 5 minutes later he calls me, and he's probably calling me now. Like it's just it sucks when I see brothers not get along or not talk to each other. Like it breaks my heart to see them not, because it's like, man, I wouldn't know what to do with that with my brother. You know?
Yeah. I mean, we were both competitive.
Yeah.
And so it just when we played basketball in high school, he yelled at me for 32 minutes. You know, he was always in me, but he wanted me to be better. But yeah, we weren't extremely close, but it's not like we never liked each other.
Yeah.
So he was always wanting to make me better at something. Like if there was a while in basketball in college, he was saying, "Wow, you should do this, you should do that." And finally, one Christmas, I was like, "Listen, I don't tell you how to freaking drive. Don't tell me how to play basketball." And
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
and we didn't speak for about 3 days over Christmas, and then after that, it was what it was. But yeah.
That's what I can't believe I would say something like that. Why would I even? Yeah, it's weird.
So there's a really interesting period I want to talk about too. Is when you got the call for the Casey Luna 10, Kenny Woodruff worked on the car, correct?
Yes.
So from 93, I believe, to 97, you drove that car, and second in points 93, second in points 94, 1 in 95, second 96, second 97, and then you leave to go to NASCAR. He gets in the car. Like your relationship with Kenny racing had to be seamless to get right in the car and be fast. And it was not for him. I don't feel like, you were driving for him. I feel like there's how did that come about with hiring your brother? Like, was it not even a question? Like, I'm going to have a race team. My brother's going to drive it. Or was it just like, he doesn't have a ride. Let's give him something.
Yeah, with Kenny, it started out, it was a weird thing. I remember calling Kenny and wanting in that ride. I just felt like I needed a change from what I was doing at that point. And I'd probably raced against Kenny for 5 years at least. And I'd probably said 5 words to him. Yeah, he wasn't a talker. I wasn't a talker, but it was really good the whole time. And then when I got something else going in NASCAR, then we talked about what we're going to do, and we talked about Dale, and then we ran 2 cars several times that fall and
With both you guys driving.
yeah,
together,
we both drove, and Kenny mainly worked with Dale, I think, most of those races. They were kind of back and forth, but
Yeah, a little bit.
and that went well, and everybody was good. And then I don't know, I wasn't around, so I can't say much about it, but yeah, it didn't get better, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
we ran okay at times, but we just didn't run very consistent and very good. I mean, I probably blame myself more for that, being young, younger, but didn't have as much confidence at that time. But I blame myself on more of that than, being on Kenny. We weren't the same. Like those guys were just Dave going to the races never left his trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so focused on everything. And I probably more it's better for me if I can go around, talk to some people and just hang out and do my own thing a little bit. And I don't think Kenny really enjoyed that part of me being like
felt
that.
like you weren't in it.
Yes. Yes.
What kind of driver are you, Gio? In
In
terms of that, are you in?
Man, it's funny. Yesterday I walked out of my trailer and I talked to Scuba and Donnie for a minute, and I walked back over and I'm like, man, Trey Starks is not here. He's my buddy. Eliason's racing. Like Dominic's not here. It's like I don't really have anybody that I can go over and like walk in their trailer and sit down. And I mean, I'm friends with people obviously, but man, it just, and maybe no one comes in my trailer and talks to me. Maybe I should look in the mirror.
Yeah,
And
maybe it's
not
you.
be such
Maybe
an
it's
asshole.
you,
Maybe
bro.
it is me. But man, it's at the racetrack. Like once you got shit going on, you don't want someone else coming over to you and bothering you. And people get it. Like we're at work. And I think, fans, it sucks sometimes because fans are on vacation. They want to talk to you, and I sign whatever people want, but it's hard because a couple times you're in staging ready to go and someone, hey, will you sign this? It's like, dude, of all times to fucking ask me, now is not the time, but okay, yeah, I'll sign it. Like I can't imagine being like a Larson or someone that, I mean, anywhere you go, you get asked for stuff. But now back to your question, I'm not friends with people, but I almost feel like sometimes like people ask, who do you go to for advice on that when you race? It's like Donnie is one of them, but man, you got to race against them too. So, you're always asking someone for help. I feel like you're kind of showing them a little bit of your weaknesses where you need help and almost giving them an insight into your how you race and how you drive. But Donnie's been really, really helpful with any questions I have. But yeah, I think to your point, you're a lot like Dominic. I mean, almost talking to people kind of relaxes you throughout the night. I mean, if you sat in your trailer the whole time, you'd be fucking twiddling your thumbs, like, more nervous instead of just going around and bullshitting. Hey, horn's blowing. Oh, fuck. All right, put the tariffs on. I'll get in the car. I can't tell you how many times Dominic racing micros, like helmet wasn't ready. Fucking, he's off talking to some girl. Like my dad's blowing a gasket because their last call for the feature, and he's just wandering around.
I was that way when I ran with George Fisher for 15 years. I'd get out of it. I'd go look at the racetrack.
Yeah.
I'd go talk to him, and he wouldn't want me around. He'd be like, get the heck out of here. And then I'd jump back in it, and we won a lot of races together like that. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah. I do think Woodruff liked that about me. Like,
Yes.
He never said anything like that, but it wasn't like I had to do it. That was just what I was going to do anyway. So
yeah, he never left the trailer.
Why leave the Outlaws? Like, I mean, obviously NASCAR is the pinnacle of American motorsport, but like, it didn't seem like you guys were, or it seemed like you were on a track you won the Knoxville Nationals in '97, like your upward trajectory, and they say, hey, I'm going to go do a NASCAR deal. Yeah,
it was the same decision as maybe the Laker decision.
Yeah.
You look back and think, well, that might not have been the right one, but I don't know. At that point, Jeff Gordon had moved in the early, quite a few years before that. Well, this was 97 for me. Gordon, maybe 92, 3 when I don't know. And Steve Kinzer had an opportunity a couple years before that, didn't work out. But so I don't know. Guys were looking more in that direction, and it was actually I wasn't gonna go walk around trying to find something. It had to be something pretty good to be able to just move. So Bill Davis had a good team, start a Busch Series team back then, and so it was, and the good guys working on it. So it was worth doing. So at that point, I didn't have any reservations.
But you ran some ARCA stuff with Stan Hoover.
Yeah.
Before that,
I did run some ARCA races and ran pretty well and liked those kind of racetracks. So, I was all in, and it could have went better. But I look back, I'm like, no, it couldn't have.
Yeah.
I was just too old when I moved. I think to get a really good opportunity in the Cup side, and you got to get the right opportunity with the right amount of experience to take advantage of it. And if those two things don't line up, it's probably not going to happen.
It's funny, Dave, because
not going to happen.
I'm just a fan. I'm a dirt fan, so I root for any of the dirt guys that go up. This is how, and I always think of you as one of the most successful guys to try and do that, because I remember the Kinzer try, and like when gravel went up and tried to do it for a little bit. I'm paying attention. That's what when Schatz ran the truck a couple times, like that's what I'm paying attention to. But I always thought, in my mind, you're one of the great success stories.
I hung around for a long time.
Yeah, honestly,
for whatever reason, but.
I always like hearing, like, are there any, like, were there any almost for you in NASCAR? Like a deal's putting together in the off season, I'm going to drive for a Hendrick or an RCR or something. And it's like, fuck, this thing went, like the money went away. Was there any big opportunity that like almost happened?
No, there was some calls that were pretty cool that didn't quite materialize, but just to get the call from a couple different people was some satisfaction. No, one tournament, I don't know if it was a turning point or not. We had led a race at Atlanta one year. This was like my second full-time season, and had a really good chance to win it, and fell apart. Wheel fell off the dang thing or something, or had trouble in a pit stop. But if we'd have won that race, maybe some other stuff might have happened, but and maybe not. But that might have been a turning point. It was a bit of looking back on it, or that day, I wasn't even really upset that we ran really good. I'm like, well, if we can run really this good all year, we'll have lots of chances. But that didn't happen. We didn't run that good ever again. Well, not that good. We ran really good that year some, but so yeah, if that would have came through that day and won that race, it might have been different. Like,
were the engineers and stuff as important as they are now? Like all the sim stuff, and was it like a sprint car, like, hey, crank some weight in the spring and just go? Like, no, it's not that simple, but like
he's asking, were you doing iRacing in the 80s?
No.
Were you playing Pong with the race car?
No, we would not. We would laugh at that. No, it was just like sprint cars now. It's the best guys, the trickiest guys. That was who was winning. Yep. And in the NASCAR world, there was way more places to fudge the rules or get away with certain things that made huge differences. When you're going that fast, if you can get an aero advantage, you got it handled. So
was there unlimited testing back then?
Unlimited.
So you do, like, there were teams testing. Didn't they have test drivers? Like some big teams, like a guy, he just runs his thing into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Then they could test as much as they wanted. Yeah, it was crazy expensive.
Were you guys a satellite team for anybody, or like got data from anybody? Like, were you Chevy, or what were you?
No, there was none of that team working together stuff. Yeah. Hardly at all.
You were Dodge, right? Wasn't Bill Davis Dodge?
Yeah.
Pontiac to begin with?
Pontiac when I started, then Dodge,
that's what I thought.
Then Toyota. We had everything. Everything changed quickly back then. Yeah, there wasn't much working with big teams. It didn't happen much.
What do you think of this new car? I was talking to a buddy, and like, for a dumb fan like me, it's like, what's the difference between a Toyota and a Ford, right? Like they're all pretty similar.
Yeah, it's just they have to have similar bodies now. You can't have, and back then it was way different. Even that Pontiac body against a Ford, they look crazy differences, but they'd obviously wind tunnel them. But then if it looked like Pontiac was definitely struggling, they'd say, okay, you can do this, and you can do this. It was pretty wild. But today's cars, I don't know. For me, it doesn't matter. Like they're going to have a race Sunday, and somebody's going to win. So that's what everybody. You just try to win with what you have, what the rules are, and the cars are, and you just work with it.
Do you? I know that obviously your son races, but are you as big of a fan of NASCAR now with like the new style and just compared to, let's say, in the mid 90s?
Yeah, I don't know if I was I was a big fan, and I had favorite drivers in the whole thing. And
I'm just saying, like, just a guy who loves racing. Do you like the product now?
Yeah.
You had a favorite NASCAR driver when we were young?
I don't know. When? What?
Like mine was Buddy Baker. Back in those,
at that period, I was probably a Richard Petty guy at that period.
Dick Trickle.
Not really.
Icon, man. Short track icon.
Okay. Well, that was more of a nutsack icon, I think, instead of a short track icon.
That too. Yeah. So I'm curious too about Ryan getting into NASCAR. Was there ever a conversation of become like a great World of Outlaws driver, or how did that all get started?
No, we never even got close to that point. In North Carolina, there's no local sprint car racing at all. There's none of that. So and we race what he started 9, 10 years old racing what they had legend cars, bandoleros, they called them, quarter midgets. We raced all that stuff. And so he's 14 or something, and we're looking for a big car to race.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that really made sense was a pavement super late model.
Mm-hmm.
Those were nice cars, and you could go to Winchester, Indiana, Pensacola, Florida. You go to all the big tracks and race against anybody in the country at 14 years old with those cars.
Yeah.
So like, well, this is the place to learn, racing against the best guys. So that's where it went. And that went really good for a couple of years. And then got a chance to run a little ARCA car right out of my shop. And that went, won one of them. We ran 34 and won one at Phoenix. And it took off from there. So it was never, he never ran a dirt race in anything. And by that time he's 16, 17 and still hadn't done it. And he's crawled in a couple of mine and played around, but no, we just never got to that point. Everything happened at a younger age and kind of set him on that course.
Gio, you had an opportunity. You ran some pavement. Like, what ultimately brought you back? Just comparing you to Ryan. I mean, you guys are pretty similar age. Why are you here?
Man, honestly, it was, I'm upset at myself more, I feel like now, because it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Going from dirt to pavement, it's always like, oh yeah, dirt guys run it too hard and they're sideways. They can control it real well. And I just struggled so bad with not having any horsepower and being way heavier. Like when you're on the exit of a corner and you drop it to the floor, like you're going to blow the tires off and be out of control in a sprint car. And, I was trying to roll on the throttle and I'm just getting yarded because you're so consistent with your brake points. And when you pick the gas up, like obviously when the tires get hot, you can move and feather a little bit, but I was riding the brakes a lot just for that comfortability thing. And I kept burning brakes off it. Like we had a freaking garage door spring on the brake pedal because I kept just riding them for stability. And, I had a driving coach, one of the races I actually won. And I was like, man, it was in October of the year 2020. It's like, man, I wasted so much time not having someone help me that, I feel like I'm almost too far behind. And I was 18, I believe at the time. And it's too old to have 1 year in ARCA. And, talking to Toyota was really helpful with everything. And COVID, kind of like it ruined everyone's year. It kind of affected mine a bit because we were supposed to do more testing and more sim stuff. And we were rolling out like the NASCAR guys were, you practice for 5 minutes and then you race. So it was the same for everybody, which I can't really make an excuse about it, but it just, I don't know. I wouldn't say I didn't take it as seriously as I needed to. I just didn't probably ask for help when I needed it. And the team I was with was really good. I had a great crew chief and it just, the language barrier was hard because I go and I'm free here, I'm loose here. And he's like, it took too long for us to figure it out. And like I said, we won a race in October, but it just, for every step forward we took 5 steps back. And it's like, man, my seat, nothing felt comfortable. Everything was so foreign, having a transmission. And it's like, man, the little air conditioner or the blower thing I had would break and then I'd run out of water. Then I got to pee. It's like, I was so out of sorts with everything.
So basically you just sucked and you couldn't adapt.
Exactly. For sure. 100%. No.
I mean, that was a simpler way to say it.
Yeah. But I just talked for 15 minutes. I could have just said that. No, but you're right. And I remember it. I believe we're in Vegas at the end of the year, I think. And we're done with practice and I'm watching Dirt Vision because the Outlaws are somewhere. And they're like, hey, I get in the car. It's like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Like, obviously there's a lot of money being poured into this ARCA thing. Like if I'm not fully invested in it, which I just slowly was not invested, and then called Andy Graves and was like, man, I don't think this is what I want to do. And he was super supportive about it. And then ended up running Toyota 410. So didn't burn the bridge. I think it was probably better that I was honest about everything and kind of got the conversation of, hey, you're going to run ARCA for another year. And it's like, man, if I can't, I suck now. So I don't know why I wanted to go to trucks or go to Progress, but it was hard to adapt. And I feel like I didn't give myself the right resources to, get better. And on top of it, those things are fucking ovens in the inside of them.
Yes,
like I probably wasn't physically in the right shape, to race 30 laps compared to 200 laps. So there were times where I was really fatigued and it's just like, man, I feel like I'm so overwhelmed with everything I need to get better at. And I'm racing a sprint car at the same time. It just, I drove for Guy, then KCP called me and it's like, and KCP first called me. It's like, hey, we're going to make a change here. Do you want to drive for us? I'm like, man, I got so much shit going on. I have a contract with Toyota. I can't get out of that. So I have to do that this year. I got to see this through. And then I was racing with Guy. And then you got this World of Outlaw caliber team, what I've always wanted to do, calling you saying, hey, this is yours if you want it. Because, it was kind of luckily that it was halfway through the year because Gravel, Donnie, all these guys have rides. So it's kind of like, hey, this guy's available. He's all right. Fucking, he should probably be okay. Let's hire him. Yeah. And it worked out, middle of 2020, getting hired by them. And Tyler Swank was a crew chief at the time. and ran good and got going, and they had a nice shop, good motors, good cars, great people, and I just I'm sure kids feel like it today that go through the stock car world is you're just another disposable part. If you can't get the job done, which is how racing is essentially, but it's like, man, there's a line of guys behind you. It's like a fucking soda machine. You hit the button, one flies out, and there's another one right there. So, not that I didn't feel super supported within the team, but it's just like, man, if you have this much time to get the job done, if you don't, you're out, which is not a great environment to be a race car driver. You feel like every race is your last. I think I only ran 18 races. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I think it was so fun because it was so challenging. Because you didn't just walk in and you're not fast. So I'm glad I did it. Kind of like to your guys' deal. Like I'm if I wouldn't have done it, I would have kicked myself for not doing it. But looking back, I wish I probably would have put more time into it, prepared a little bit more.
It just takes time. I think if you talk to Kyle Larson, he'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't spectacular from the start. I saw a lot of it, and he was running those K&N cars a little bit the same time Ryan was, and I think he'd tell you the same thing. It just takes time.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like it was. How am I trying to say this? Let me think. It kind of lost train of thought. I'm so flustered. I'm picturing driving a fucking stock car running last, getting laughed.
Flipped your car right in front of you.
Yes.
If you're watching on YouTube, which is the most popular place to watch, Scelzi Says.
No wonder he gets taken advantage of on restarts.
I'm just fucking daydreaming.
Well,
Dave,
Whoa.
Dave
got a little pissed that Gio was late again.
I got Starbucks there, so the line was long.
For himself only.
Yeah.
So
I didn't want to bring it in. I didn't want to get anybody mad.
He flipped the 18 right here in front of us. Who do you guys? The geek in me. We hear a lot about Corey Day. Obviously, Gio. Who are some of the young guys that catch your eye in the sport right now, Dale, that you think could really have a super bright, even not only in dirt, but maybe making the jump to NASCAR or something like that eventually?
Well, definitely Corey Day. I mean, he's pretty skilled, really skilled. I remember watching him. It might have been the first couple 410 races he was ever in. It was out in maybe Arizona, New Mexico, I think. He might have been 15, first time he ever jumped in.
Yeah, the Wild Wing thing.
Yes, and he was going back and forth with Donnie.
Yep.
And I was like, holy crap, who is this kid?
Yeah.
And I knew he was pretty special at that point. But he's skilled.
If I'm buying stock in one guy right now, Dave, I'm going to buy stock as low as possible in a guy who's going to have a great career. Who do you got?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of them. You just got to get in the right opportunity, even him.
Well, Dave did win an Outlaw show the first time in 30 years, like 2 years ago. So might be one that goes back up. You never know.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. No.
I want to bounce this off of them, the conversation we had with Zierfoss. And again, I come at this totally different. I've never been in a car, but I've called races and I'm just a diehard fan. The thing that is interesting to me about a sprint car is that it primarily looks the same as when I used to go and watch you guys out at Eagle, Nebraska in the 90s, right? Like it doesn't feel like, to me, when I look at a late model and the chassis and how they've messed with those things, it looks like a different car in many aspects. What's the biggest difference in jumping in a car now compared to when you guys were doing it in the 90s? Like the feel inside that a fan may not have any recollection of.
I mean, they look the same from the stands.
Yeah.
Now, they don't look the same 4 feet away from them. They look a little different. It depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just the quickness aspect is a little bit different. The tires are different now. Wing stuff is different. So it's just, I don't know. I can't remember how they felt back in the 90s and 2000s, really, of what they actually felt like. So they don't feel a ton different, but
just gradual change. The biggest thing for me is just the horsepower now compared to then.
Yeah.
So then once you're going 30 miles an hour faster down the straightaway, well, then you have way more downforce. So that all adds up. So it's more downforce racing than ever before, but it's still good racing. It's not like everybody's wide open all the way around the racetrack every night, but it is faster and the aero takes over more, which changes what you do to the race car. So, but it's not huge differences. But
what about you guys have been through this before, but the split of the series, how do you, not asking you to make a prediction, but like, does this Is this a good thing? Is this how do you guys view what's going on right now?
Yeah, it is different. I mean, there's always been 2 traveling series. Now there's 2 more national traveling series instead of a regional with the All Stars. But it'll play out at the end of the year or next year.
Do you think the sport's big enough to have the 2 national ones?
I think so. I mean, there's huge car counts at a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think there's room for it. So it's just a matter. Flo and Dirt Vision are huge players in the game. They're more players in the game than the actual series, really. So how it does play
it's
out.
a lot like college athletics.
Yeah.
For people in that world, I mean, it's like college football, and you look at, your team, West Virginia, is in the Big 12. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sure.
But it's because of Fox and ESPN. I mean, they've been playing chess with these universities for 20 years right now.
Yeah. Whatever it is, I mean, racing's in a good spot. Really, I think sprint car racing is good right now that it has been a long time. So
going back a little bit, something that interests me a lot is watching races from the 80s, 90s, how shitty the racetracks are. Like you watch a race at Devil's Bowl, it's a day show in 1980, and it is paved. It's black smoke from hot laps. And like now, I mean, I complain about everything. They need to work it. There's a rut here, go blade it. Like our racetracks now are really well prepared. Like for the Outlaws, they always do their best work. Like, Beaver Dam was awesome. Like it's Slick and Wide last night was even good. They tilled the top, tilled the bottom, and gave us something to race on. Like back then, was it just they didn't have the equipment, or like it just was there was no bitching about the track? You're gonna go just race.
I think everybody just learns how to prepare the tracks, and you get more experience with how to do it. You're just smarter. People get smarter in every way. So yeah, and they care more about it. They finally understand that people take care of the track, that, hey, the better the race is, the more people come out, and now it's going to be on TV. So we have to have something good. So yeah, just the evolution of things.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just, didn't have a daggone cell phone. How long ago? I mean, everything changes. So everybody gets smarter, and everybody, the facilities get better, and the dirt gets better, and everybody just figures out how to do it. Yeah, no doubt.
What, you guys have a favorite track over the years? One that you always were itching to get to?
I got about a top 5.
Let's hear it.
So
Mount Rushmore's 5.
That's 4. Yeah,
I'll give you close. Pretty close.
And most of them
closer than I thought.
Most of them are in Ohio. Love going to Attica.
Yeah.
Atomic back 10 years ago. I haven't really raced there as much now, and it's different with wall, and the track's a little different. Used to love that place. Really love Lernerville. And you can't not love Eldora when you go there.
Yeah.
That's in the top 5. And the one place that I used to really like was Dixie Speedway down near Atlanta. We used to run there once or twice a year, but it was slick, smooth, wide. It was fun.
What about you? What's your top 5?
I don't even know if I have 5.
Sharon Speedway.
No, I forgot that.
No, I would go Eldora and Knoxville. That was it.
Yeah.
They had the biggest races back then. And then I never wanted to have favorite tracks, and I didn't want to have tracks I hated that just show up and somebody's going to win.
Yep,
so let's work on that. So I didn't want to go in there because I hate going here. So I didn't want that.
My mindset, my favorite track was the next one I was going to.
Yeah.
Whether I didn't like it or not, that was, I go, okay.
That's just a good way to approach life, though.
Yeah,
If you just
no
avoid things you don't like, then,
you have to run into them at some point.
Yeah, and it's going to stay on your to-do list. Like, you may as well just get it done and knock it out, right? Yep. We got to ask him about the jet dryer.
Yeah, so I don't know if this stuff's right. There's not a lot of information on it, but I'm pretty sure
this is crazy.
The 2012 Daytona 500, you were leading, and Pablo Montoya hit the jet dryer. Is that right?
Yes.
So you needed him to hit one more jet dryer, and you probably would have won.
No, that one was enough.
So was it?
It was an inferno, dude.
So it was a rain delay, obviously, and you're on pit road, or were you rolling around? Like, what was
the track was on fire. There was no rain. He hit a jet dryer, and the whole track caught on fire.
So why was the jet dryer on the racetrack? Just cruising
blowing debris off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't raining.
No.
He just smoked a dry.
Well, yeah,
he wasn't raining because the cars were on the track, dude.
No, something happened to his car. He came down pit road, and they were working on his car. Something in the suspension. He went back out trying to catch up to the field.
See if you
and
could pull
something
this
broke right before he got to it, and it just slid right into
one
the
Montoya jet dryer.
So then what? Race delayed, obviously.
Yeah, for hours.
So,
I led the Daytona 500 for like 3 hours.
No
still,
shit.
but yeah.
What, did you get there on a pit stop cycle, or were you like running up front?
No, I was not running up front at that point. We had damage on maybe a left front fender or something. I had hit, or no, I had slid the tires on a pit stop, blew the left front, screwed up the fender. So we were trying to fix it all day long. This was like the last pit stop of the race. Not that many laps to go. So everybody pitted. We just stayed out an extra lap because we were going to take some time to fix it. So it was maybe 2 of us that stayed out. And during that little lap that happened, and we happened to be leading.
What do you say over the radio? Hey, a guy just hit the fucking jet dryer.
Yeah, they stopped us. They didn't even let us go past. So we were parked on turn 2 for hours, and the fire is right down there at turn 3. And I just watching it burn. I'm like, how can there be anything left?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh.
I think Aiden's got the video up. We're going to throw it up here.
That was in a Tommy Baldwin car. He's, yakking how about we're going to win the 500. I'm like, oh my God.
Don't say it because that's not going to happen.
Well,
did you see it from your car when he hit the jet dryer? Like,
no, you just saw the fire. They stopped us so we didn't get there.
Did we ever find out what he was doing? Like what happened?
His car had broke something.
Oh, Juan's car had broken.
Yeah, and it just turned sideways and slid right into it.
Jesus.
How'd you like driving the jet dryer? Just cruising, blowing it, and just boom.
Yeah, driving a bomb anyway, and then somebody runs into your bomb. Yeah, not good.
Unbelievable. Okay, maybe we're not going to get it. It's no big.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh yeah, here it is, right here.
I want to see the
Jet dryer. I think he slammed into the jet dryer.
They're trying to clear debris off the racetrack, and the car brakes, won't steer, and he slides up the track and into the back of that surplus helicopter jet engine on a trailer used to dry the racetrack.
Mike, I saw sparks coming out from the car as if it had a tire down or something. What an incredible turn of events! I've never in my life. Oh my gosh!
Are you watching this, Dale?
Yeah.
And all that spilled jet fuel found something hot to ignite it. Safety workers quickly on the scene.
No shit. Yeah, the guy got really.
And this is a bizarre twist to this Daytona 500.
So where'd you finish? Out the race end?
Down in turn number 3.
Did you crash?
No,
You didn't hit a jet dryer.
they were about to go green, so I had to pit.
Oh, yeah.
To the back I go.
Yeah. Should have just stayed out. Fuck it. Just come past me.
Yeah, I guess we couldn't make it, or we would have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At least you got the lead for a while, though.
That was big.
Yeah. For 3 hours.
For 3 hours.
You led the
More than
Daytona
most-
500 for the longest time anyone's ever
Yes.
led it without moving.
Yes.
More than most people can say. I mean, hell.
Can you imagine if I'd have won that race? It'd be an asterisk like this big in the rule book. But
If someone uses jet dryer,
this
it can't
happened.
end.
Oh my God.
Was there ever any IndyCar stuff at the time for you? Like any opportunities to do the 500 or anything?
I actually practiced a couple times. Back then, when was it? Mid-90s. That's when the IRL came in.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get guys, like me, short track guys, to come race those cars. So they even had a test car, and I went to Las Vegas one day, and there was a bunch of us there, sprint car guys, running laps in this test car. And it might have blew up when I was driving it. I might have ruined it for the rest of the guys. I'm not sure what happened. But then I got a really good chance when Tony Stewart was driving the Menards in IndyCar, and I guess it was an IRL. And I forget what happened, but they were looking at getting somebody else for the teammate or something. And so I think I spent 3 days in Phoenix running. Billy Bode and I were there running for days in this thing. So they ended up they got somebody else, not Billy or I, but then Billy ended up running a good bit, and I think I probably could too. But the NASCAR thing happened soon after, so I went that way. But that was the IRL was cool and was aimed toward guys like me, and several did it and ran well.
Did you run any IROC races?
No,
Never did.
no.
I freaking loved that series.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Watch the old videos of it now.
Yeah.
Like, God, it was good racing.
I feel like
it wasn't fair. I think Kinzer won the title and ran one year, right? And then I won the Outlaw title next year, and then Kinzer still ran IROC.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this Formula One craze going on right now? You guys watch Formula One at all? Because they're setting TV records, and all these kids are watching it on Netflix now, and they're like, I have a employee, young gal who never been exposed to racing in her life, and she's out there buying like $75 Ferrari hats.
I don't think I haven't watched a race in years. I don't even know who's. I know there's a Verstappen guy or something.
Yeah.
So that's Lewis Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't watch that.
I think what's so interesting about F1 is really how popular it is and how bad the product is racing. Like we're all so worried about having a good race, and the facilities are kind of shitty, and it's all right as long as the race is good, it's fine. But I mean, they're the opposite. They want to take pictures with drivers and have the experience, and the race is like, okay, we'll go to sleep during the race and then see the guys after.
She was up in the box with us last night, and she goes, "This isn't anything like F1." I go, "Yeah, they actually passed."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they had that Netflix show, and that really made them. I mean, the racing doesn't make them, but that show was cool.
Did you watch Ryan in the NASCAR one?
Yes.
What'd you think of how they did that? Think they did okay?
Yeah.
Because he was one of the featured guys, right?
Yeah, you can't say you get something like that. You can't say, "Oh, that wasn't any good." It was really good for the sport, and I'm sure they're going to have more in the future. But yeah, it was good.
Was it beneficial? Like, would you recommend drivers do that? Because I was reading like Chase Elliott told him no because he's just super private, and like if you were a car owner, would you want your guy doing that for your sponsors and all that stuff?
Sure, I think you do it for your sponsors. You do it for the sport in general. Yeah.
I think now, especially, people want an insight into your life. As weird as it sounds, like people are huge fans of racing, and they only see us on the racetrack in our fire suits. Like, is it like this? That's why we do this.
I don't know if it has anything to do with this show or not. There were a lot of 18 shirts last night.
Good,
way more than I've ever seen before.
They're bright.
Talking with your mom about it.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she does an awesome job with it, getting all of our inventory and cool designs, and kids always want the newest stuff. And if you get tank tops, people want long sleeves, and if you get long sleeves, people want hoodies. And I mean, fans are awesome, but
you should have brought Dave one of those tie-dye ones.
I should have. Yeah,
did you have a big giveaway or something? I can't understand how this is happening.
Maddie's giving stuff away behind the trailer.
I don't know. There was no giveaway.
It was weird when my trailer was at your shop. A bunch
Somebody
of stuff
stole
was missing.
them.
So I don't know what happened.
Somebody stole them.
We take him to Goodwill.
Swear to God, we're driving down from Newton. We went to Cup practice and then went to Knoxville, and there was a car broken down on the side of the road.
With a tie-dye Gio Scelzi
They were Gio fans.
Yep.
I was like, that's a bad omen for the night right there.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. You got anything else? This is
one more thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Sharon Speedway, racing tracks all across the country. Like, what is your goal with Sharon? Like, it's cool to see. I've never walked up through the boot, like the front stretch deal, and I wandered up through there through the suites and stuff. It's an amazing facility. Like, you only ever see the pit area when you're racing. And was that a goal to own a racetrack, or just kind of fell into it? Like, hey, I'm gonna promote a racetrack or own a racetrack.
It wasn't a goal. I had a couple local guys, the Carilla family, Weller family, that wanted to dive in. It was for sale, and we wouldn't have done it. It's our hometown. We grew up a couple miles from the racetrack, so it was more a deal of keeping this thing going, and then it just kind of goes from there. And Dale spent a lot of time there, more than me, and a lot, all these years later, it's actually going pretty well at the moment. The everything's going pretty well, racing side of it and everything. So yeah, it's all right, but I'm no, want to be a racetrack owner and different places or anything, but to keep your local place going is good.
Well, it's cool to see when a racer gets a racetrack. I feel like they almost always improve it if there's money behind it, because they know what racers look for. They know what kind of track they want, and the stuff that's a pain in the ass to deal with as race teams, they normally take care of and make seamless for us going in there. As long as it's 25 seconds in hot laps, we're in good shape for your cantilever car.
How much list do we get down there?
We pretty much covered all of it.
Well, keep going. Don't be bashful. Keep going.
No, I mean, the thing, it makes sense. I wanted to ask you why Ryan didn't start in dirt racing, but it makes sense that, there is no dirt racing other than late model. Like, was there dirt late models around Carolinas? There is a little bit, but not open wheel stuff.
I don't think they'd have let him that young run the dirt late models. I don't think they just dirt go-karts would have been the only thing he could have done. And it was kind of the only choice. And he didn't know any better at the time. He had never even been in a dirt car, so he didn't know it. And he didn't think he was missing anything. Right. So
Ryan growing up racing and you growing up racing, you probably started racing when you were 6.
Yeah, 5.
Like, we raced go-karts when we were 14 and 15.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we ever did in our life. And then he jumped into a 410 sprint car a couple years later. And then 10 years, it took me 10 years by the time I raced a go-kart till I jumped in a race car and didn't race anything.
So did you guys drive your dad's car like when you started? Or like
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Where
I was 26.
Yeah, we're
no
only
shit.
a month and a half apart, but he was that long. Yeah.
That's what's so crazy.
Like
basketball. There's such a changing in the guard now with any kind of racing. Like when you raced the All-Stars, it was Tim Schafer, Chad Kemenaugh, you.
Yeah.
Those were the big 3 of the All-Stars, and the Outlaws had their guys. But like from really I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, 2003 to 12, maybe even 15. Like that was you guys. You guys won every championship. No one else could break into your guys' championships. And I feel like was there a goal to go outlaw racing, like build your teams up to go outlaw racing, or was, hey, we're all stars. I don't race 100 times a year. I mean, you probably did sometimes, but this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna run the all stars. Like we run the tracks we like. We're in Ohio. I'm home. Like, was that the goal, or was it to go to the Outlaws?
Well, I'd already been to the Outlaws. You know,
Yeah,
I'd raced there 98 through 01. So I'd already done that.
Yeah.
And racing who I was racing with, George Fisher, like we went through about 4 different owners. We'd go from here to here to here, but it was perfect for us to do that. We raced 50, 60 times, probably 70, almost 80 overall with everything, but it was great. We never ran more than 6 hours from home most nights. And that's what we did. Yeah. We could race a lot and not travel a ton.
So Dave, I feel like a lot of your deals were not owned by you, but almost partnered with you. Like the Pete Grove thing, the Motter thing, like the 98 car, I believe was yours, the white one. Like, was that something where it's like, hey, I'm just going to take care of everything because I know what I have. I'm not going to drive something else I don't know is safe. I don't know the motors. Like, you give me some money, you give me some equipment, a trailer, I'll organize it. Like, what? It seems like you were always involved in the ownership of your teams later in your career.
Yeah, those were just, I got in my head. I wanted to run. At one point, I thought, man, I need to run a little more if I'm going to progress here. And that was just a stupid idea too. And so I jumped in Pete Grove's car and we did that together. Yeah, I had some sponsorship here and there and Pete stuff and teamed up and we did okay. But, you know, anything after I came back from NASCAR was more kind of playing around. And it's just going to be that. You're just not, you can't jump out of the sport for that long and then be in your 50s and really compete. So, yeah, those weren't maybe full blown things, but it was fun.
How cool was winning Sharon in 2021 or 2021, I believe? Yeah.
Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah, it's funny. They have a memorial race for my dad every year at Sharon, so that's the big race every year we try to win. But then I did win it. I don't know, a few years ago. Maybe Pete's car in 18 was the last time. But yeah, that outlaw race was actually. I think I told Lisa, I told my wife going up there that I was going to win that night, and which was a crazy idea. But I just felt like I was going to somehow, and it all worked out. But that was that's something I'll never forget. Yeah,
it was cool to watch. I tell you that
it was fun.
Like I always make funny. I don't make fun of your car, but I kind of do. I remember vividly. I was driving for Bernie at Eldora. You had the 4 cantilever car. I think the frame wasn't even powder coated yet. It might have been a Pete Grove car. I think it was blue. 4 off wheel, looked like a 4 off left rear. I mean, you couldn't pass the thing. It was so wide. And I'm looking, I'm like, dude, this thing is badass. And you go, yeah, it's real badass till you get it on the racetrack. I'm like, man, that's a good one. Because I'm like, I want to drive it. It looks so cool. And Bernie's like, how's it look out there? I'm like, really, really tight. I'm like, he needs it to be 20 seconds in hot laps. Like, was it, obviously having a crew chief, like I wasn't around for you racing with Kenny, but were you as involved in the setup of the car then as you are now?
With Kenny, no. It was different with Kenny. He had a basic thing he ran all the time, and it didn't matter, just all the time.
Was that 4 bars or 4 shocks or just
everything?
Yeah,
the same. And he would do a certain changes when it got really slick and slow, and it was all stuff I liked anyway. So we didn't change up a bunch of stuff. But then the more we raced together, we would venture off a little bit. And the cool thing was, though, if I said, hey, what about this? And he'd look at me and say, well, it's not going to hurt me, so go ahead. So he would do it. But then, I'd say, hey, what are you thinking for this track? And he'd say, well, whatever. And if I had a strong feeling for some sort of setup for this track, he'd say, okay. And if he had a strong feeling, I'd say, okay. And I would never ask what was in it again. So we did have a really good thing in that area, I thought, where we weren't obsessed with who was doing it or whatever, just so it went well. And he was all about things going well.
I mean, I've only had that relationship with two crew chiefs, Bernie and now Adam. I'm getting that way with him. With Bernie, it was so automatic in the beginning. It's like I probably didn't know exactly what to tell him, but he could watch the car, how it moves so well. We come in, I get out of the car. By the time I walk back out, he's already making a change. And that change would almost always make us better for the next time. And if it didn't, it's like, wow, that was fucking really bad. It wasn't like, why I fixed it. Why aren't you any good? He's like, man, that looked like shit. Like that was not any better than it was before. And me and Adam are getting that way too. I mean, it's hard to watch the race car because I mean, Brock was saying when we were talking to him is you're not tight or you're loose anymore. I feel like those days are over. Like you're either stuck or you're not stuck. And even Brock even said it. I'd never heard anyone say it before. Is when your car is really, really good, it almost feels numb. Like it, it rolls in there. You hit the butt, like it roll, like it. You're not turning the steering wheel very much. You're not fighting the car a whole lot. And I don't know if that's changed with shocks, tires, but like man, when your car is on and you're at Knoxville or Eldora, you don't move the steering wheel a lot. Like you're not doing a whole lot in the race car. And I think a crew chief relationship, like Logan Schuchart, he's struggling now, but him being his own crew chief as well as Brock, like, man, to have to think about the shit you want to do in the race car before you go on the racetrack. I mean, you do it now. Like it's not being able to go look at the racetrack right before they work it, or you're in staging and they're working the racetrack. Like you see those guys are at a big disadvantage really when, Logan's won a lot of races. So is Brock, but it's so much more tough when you are your own crew chief or, having to make those decisions or have a big instrument in those positions, decisions before you get on the racetrack.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to do that. I do a little bit now.
Yeah.
More so, but maybe that's why I suck now. So I've had some good nights and bad nights, but I still understand what I want, what I need. But it was, when I raced for George for 15 years, I could have cared less what he had in it. I kind of knew what he did, but he was more of getting the motor to throttle how I liked it. And he just knew how I liked it. If I had my car left, I was going to race the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, it was hard for me to race it like that. So I had to have it like that. And he knew that. So we just had it like that. And if we made a change, I always felt like the change was going to be good. I didn't care.
Yeah.
It's all racing's 99% confidence. If you feel like you can do it, if you feel like your car can do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's all confident. And he was huge on my confidence. I knew he was going to give me a good car every night. And I raced it like that.
And I kind of think the guys that today, like those two guys you were talking about, for them to not have, like, they do everything, that seems like a dumb decision.
Yeah.
Crazy dumb. You need another set of eyes you can trust outside of the car. You just have to.
Yeah.
You can't base it all on everything you're feeling inside the car. There's got to be another set of eyes.
And I would kill a lot of nights too. You watch other cars qualify, you see how they, if the track's got a weird hole or something in it, you see how those cars go through it and you run through it and you can obviously feel what it feels like, but man, I would kill to be able to watch it from the grandstands. Dirt Vision obviously does a really good job. Like, my girlfriend, she'll video qualifying on the TV and send it to me right away so I can see it. But it's like, man, the heat race, just to have a camera on you all the time and see what the car is doing and say, hey, like I always wear as bright a suit as possible, as bright a gloves as possible. That way, when I'm saying, hey, I'm tighter than fuck, and I roll in the corner, my arms are like this, you can't say, no, you're a dumbass. Like, you're not tight. Like, you can watch. And then sometimes, like, you roll in, oh, did you look too tight? Well, yeah, but or you look too loose. Well, yeah, but I'm tighter than fuck on entry. And then the thing slams left on exit. Like, it's, if you have someone that's on the same page working with, it's instrumental. Like, you look at the Rick Warner and Donnie Schatz combo. They hate each other, yell at each other all the time, but for some reason they were fast. Yeah. And obviously it didn't work, couldn't work for 10 years or however long it was, but the great driver crew chief combos, Eric Pritzman now and Brad Sweet, they're a great combo that's won 5 Outlaw championships in a row and probably got a good shot to win a high limit championship. So people take for granted that relationship and being able to spend time outside the racetrack with them. Like, with traveling back then, would you travel with the rig when you ran the Outlaw Tour, or you were doing your own thing?
With Woodruff, no, I wasn't. By then I had kids and we had a motor home and doing that kind of thing. And for probably my personality and Woodruff's, we were just fine being apart for a good amount of the day. But I will say, he had the reputation of being rough on drivers or not a great attitude sometimes with me. He and I never had one argument in 5 years, just nothing. And he might go off and spout something, blow steam off about me, and I might do the same. But when it came down to getting to it, we had no problems. And that's big.
So the transition after, because there's not a lot of information on this stuff, you drove for Casey Luna all the way through 97, correct?
Through 96 and 97, we kind of had our own team with
so did
Keith Hilton.
Did he say I'm out? Like, like he was done racing?
Yeah, he quit racing in 96 after the 96 year that Luna family did. Yeah.
So that turned into the Amoco car, or like?
Well, it went in
US Print.
Yeah, US Print. Keith Hilton from California and I owned the team, and he had a company called US Print. It was on it. We ran 97 with that car, and then that same team got Amoco in 98, 99 with Dale.
Yep.
And but yeah, Lunas were what 93 through 96. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got anything else, big guy?
Man, I'm this is good. My wheels are turning.
No, that's good.
The Ford deal, that's what I want to talk about. You know, you watch Donnie now and won the championship, I believe, in 2018. 19 was the first year of semi Fords, ran second, and then has struggled since then. Like you talk about the engine throttling how you want it. And I had a Toyota for a while and we struggled really bad with it. You know, and it was almost to the point where it's like, man, I don't know what I need to do to the car, because I get to the gas, I'm spinning on exit, I can't get off the corner. Then as soon as I get out of the tires, we got a ton of gear in the thing. We got a 550 at Williams Grove, and I'm not going down the straightaway, but I can get off the corner. Then we put reducers in and it fixes the corner, but now the straightaway's fucked up. It's like we're so lost with the race car. I don't even know which way to turn. And you know, was it like that with the Fords for a while? Like, did you have some, you know, corporate support, like, you know, some Ford support with the things, or it was like, hey, here's a Ford, run it?
At that point, they'd had them for quite a while. The Luna team had them with, well, I don't know, Danny Lasowski drove it, Hunchill drove it,
Bobby Davis.
yeah, before I got there, and it was all Ford. So, and Ron Shaver was taking care of all that stuff. So they were good. They were different, but they were, you know, Woodruff was all over it with Shaver, and Shaver was out all the time. So that was, you know, having Shaver come was as good as you were going to get back in those days. So
How'd Shaver and Kenny get along?
really good.
Best buds.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. Kenny was like that. If he had friends, they were like tight.
Yeah.
That's the way he was.
It seems like Donnie, I mean, it seems like almost kind of one step forward, two steps back with them, and how, you know, you run that car for so long, or that engine for so long, I should say. You know, you've changed all these things around to try to get the engines to work, and now you always have in the back of your mind, I'm sure, if we would have never changed, what would we be like? You know, I asked him about that, and he was super positive about the whole Ford thing. Like, I didn't know what to expect his response, but, you know, obviously doing something new is exciting, and when you have as much support as they've had, it's cool to see. And what's funny is, Donnie sucks. He hasn't won this. He's won a Knoxville Nationals, a National Open, and a Kings Royal in the last 5 years, and he's had the worst 4 years of his life. I would take that worst 5 years of his life right now for the best 3 years of my life. You know?
Yeah, I mean, things always change. You don't know that combination that Donnie won with all those times. Would it win today?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yep.
And then you don't know. Anytime variables change, you know, things can go better, things can go worse. So you try to lessen the variables sometimes as much as you can.
How do you guys view, like, back in the day of different tire compounds? Like, because I mean, you hear stories of, we had D10s, D12s, RD12s, RD15s, every different tire combination ever. Goodyears, Hoosiers, McCreary's. Like, you know, what time did that start to kind of slow down, where guys like Hoosier, I'm sure, put up money to say, hey, or Goodyear at the time, you know, through the, you know, early 90s, I believe, through the 2000s was Goodyear, and then back to Hoosier now. Like, did you guys view was tire conservation more important than when you were on D10s and RD12s and stuff, or was you just fucking gas it up and go?
You just ran. You found out what your car liked and what you liked. And certain places were harder on tires, and certain places, you know, you just ran better with a harder tire, and some places ran better with a softer tire. So it gave you a big variable to, you could either be really good or you could struggle with it. But I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was open the whole time, right? Until whenever, but all through the 90s, well, the late 90s, it went where Hoosier came back fast, like 98, 99.
Yeah.
But all through the early 90s, it was wide open, but Goodyear was way faster.
Yeah.
And it was just nothing but Goodyear.
Because Hoosier was like new. They were like just coming into sprint cars, right?
Yeah,
like late 90s.
Oh man, they were in the 80s.
Yeah.
Then they went away maybe a little bit and then come back. But there were certain places. We go to Florida early in the year in the mid 90s, and if you didn't have a American Racer or McCreary at East Bay, you sucked.
Yeah.
And Goodyear struggled there. And then if you didn't have this at Volusia, you stunk.
Yeah.
But there was a few places like that, and they were mainly in Florida early in the year.
Compound racing, there was maybe only 2, maybe 3 you choose from.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy amounts of different compounds.
The only taste I've ever had of that is Australia. I got to race on American Racers. I think it was like an MC2 or SD38 or something. It was a really soft tire. It was a 17 wide tire is what it was stamped. And what was crazy is we were mountain tires, and they brought a whole truckload of them to us. And like you hold the right rear up that's not mounted, and you drop it, and it just goes nothing. Zero structure to it. And I'm used to mountain H's, and you're popping the sidewalls down and moving it. And I'd never run them before. So I asked Bernie, I'm like, man, and we're on dish wings with a wicker bill. So I'm like, what is this going to be like? He's like, I don't fucking know. I've never raced on this stuff before. So I don't know. I'm just going to do what I do at home and see what it's like. Cause we were like, we want to bring over H's because that's what we run. We want flat wings and H's. I'm like, dude, if we'd had flat wings and H's, we would have fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with the soft tires, you could run 6 pounds on the right rear tire, 4 pounds in the left rear tire, and you gas the thing up and the thing wheelies and wants to stand the rear tires up. Like it was such a different feeling. And then we go to Warrnambool where there's a bunch of tire heat, and in 6 laps, the right rear's completely blistered all the way across it. I'm like, well, that's not going to work very good for the feature. So we ended up putting a Hoosier right rear tire on, but that's so cool to me is because I've never been able to do that. Like I started on HTWs, RD12s, which are more of like an open style tire, an 18 wide right rear in California. But from the time I was on the Outlaws, it was H tires, and now this new D15A or whatever it's called. But I've never got I feel like Joey Saldana is one of the guys I think of that struggled to adapt to the H tires. Like he was always looking for a certain feel that he never really got before. And people ask me, it's like, well, what feel are you looking for? It's like, well, I mean, most of the time a fast car doesn't really feel great. Like you got to run the fucking piss out of it. If you feel really good sometimes I've been pretty slow. So it's like, man, maybe your comfortability is not translating to a fast race car.
Maybe that's why we think we don't run the shit out of it anymore.
Oh,
it was
I guess
funny.
maybe.
I was watching the other day in the t-shirt trailer yesterday. I think there was an old Dirt Vision clip of Tulare in like 2000, I don't know, 5 or 6. Sammy was leading, Donnie was second, and Steve Kinzer was third. And Donnie is just pounding the fence, hitting it, wheeling down the racetrack, chop Steve. It's like, man, it's just 15, 20 years ago how much things have changed.
Donnie, he was a gas man
early
in his career. Yeah. There were some races I remember him, like at Devil's Bowl. It's around the bottom, and it's berm up top. And I mean, he's over it, in it, above it. I mean, just absolutely getting it on. I'm like, yeah.
He might have had Woodruff pushing him along at that point.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he would get it on.
Yeah.
And I think he actually he was really, really good in the rough.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
When he was young.
Well, even you look now.
Even now.
Yeah. Volusia that one
yes.
year, it was like a cornfield, and he won, I think, I think he did win. He beat Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird. Like, and that's, I feel like you either retire too late or you retire too early. Not saying Donnie needs to retire, but like whenever you think maybe this guy's down and out, he wins a Knoxville Nationals. Or even at Kings Royal. He started third in his heat race at Kings Royal, and it was wet, and he won. So it's not like he was on the pole of his heat, won, pole of the feature, won. Like he started on the pole of the main, but you still got to win the race.
Yeah.
Like I'm obviously everyone knows I'm biased towards Donnie. I'm a fan, whatever.
Friend of the program.
Yeah, exactly. But man, it just, to see them win races and to see because you kind of like the question's always there, like why are you still doing it? And one answer is, I've always done it. So what else am I going to do? He spent more years in the Outlaw Tour than off the Outlaw Tour in his life, I believe. This is 28 years, and he's only 46 years old, I believe. So that's kind of crazy to think about. But man, it's cool to see.
He's been around so long, you think he's older than he is.
Literally, yeah. It is that Maddie's friend was like, man, Donnie looks old. I'm like, he's a stud. He's got a beard. He looks good. I like it. I want some gray in my hair. But
I'll say about Donnie, and I think he's earned everything he's got, and he's run great. But when I think he was a rookie in '97 when that was my last year I ran, and I did not see that coming. I didn't see the success he has through. I didn't see that in '97.
Yep. Well, man, I was watching the Knoxville Nationals. I don't know what year it was, but I think he was leading or running second, spun out. Like off turn 4, like coming to the green or something. Like got caught on the berm, hit a cone, and spun out down the front stretch.
He was going into one, I think. Yeah, he started up on the front.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which no one ever, you look at the run he had between 05 to 2018. Like when I first ran Nationals in 2018, the 16 years I had been alive, he'd either run first or second at the Knoxville Nationals.
That's insane.
Yeah. And that year he ran 8th or 9th right in front of me. They blew up a motor or something stupid happened. But like the no one remembers when you're great. Like, man, this guy crashed everything. He junked a bunch of shit. Like no one never talks about that. Someone that was that's funny because like Lasowski was the one I had heard, and it could have been a little bit later than that. Like Schatz is going to be the next guy. He's going to be the one that wins all the races. And when you're seasoned on the Outlaw Tour, see, I said seasoned, not old. You're seasoned. When you in late '90s, you get a guy that could be anybody out there today. Like this fucking guy, oh my God, another yellow for Don, the 15 cars up over the fence, like he junked it. Or you're running the bottom and he's 4 wheels in the shit, blows by you.
Man. Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys.
You guys, what are your plans for the weekend? Are you going up to Newton and stuff, or are you just
we'll head over there,
bouncing back and forth?
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, we got a fundraiser tonight at Knoxville for Ryan's Foundation. So we'll be at Knoxville tonight.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
we appreciate you coming in. I'm sorry Gio was late.
That's all right. I talked too long. But that's all right. Thank
We
you guys.
expected it.
Yeah.
No, this has been awesome. You guys are a lot of people watching this will really, really appreciate the trip down memory lane, and not only that, but just insight on everything. So good luck to you tonight.
Thank you.
As well.
Thank you.
Gio will be there watching for you,
Yep.
cheering for you, and we'll be back soon. If you guys do us a favor, like and subscribe and share Scelzi Says with all your friends who love the racing, and help us grow the show. We appreciate it. Dale and Dave Blaney for Giovanni Scelzi. I'm Chris Williams. Have a great weekend.